Welcome back and let's talk about ATP. Well, since childhood we have learned one thing, and that is mitochondria is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Now when mitochondria is called as the powerhouse of the cell, the question is, what is mitochondria actually producing such that it is given such a name that it's a powerhouse of the cell? It is going to provide energy to the cell, and of course it is going to provide energy to all the other systems of the body. Well, it is nothing but ATP which the mitochondria produces. Now, let's look at the structure, that's ATP. Now, when you look at ATP, you have three parts over here. You have adenine, which is nothing but a nitrogenous base. Do you remember ATGC of the DNA? Well, that's exactly what adenine is. It's a nitrogenous base. Then you have a 5-carbon sugar, which is called as the ribose. And then, of course, you have the 3 phosphate groups. Now, we know that the nitrogen base, when combines with sugar, is called as nucleoside. So when adenine combines with ribose, it is called as adenosine. So nucleoside, this will be adenosine. So this adenine combining with ribose gives me adenosine. Well, that is what the A of ATP stands for. Now TP stands for triphosphate. So this is one phosphate molecule, another, and the third one. So this entire structure has 3 phosphate groups, and that's why the name is adenosine triphosphate. Now this is an energy-rich molecule. This ATP, which is nothing but the adenosine triphosphate, is an energy-rich molecule. Why? Because this triphosphate has bonds which are present in between them. Each and every phosphate which is linked to the other, that's 1, 2 and 3, they all have a bond in between them. And that bond is always broken down in order to produce energy. Well, let's take the word adenosine first, and let's break it down as Ade, ADE, no, NO, sine, SINE. Now, when you talk about this adenosine triphosphate, well, the major energy is stored in between those bonds. So every time the cell requires energy, ATP comes, the last phosphate is removed. So from 3 phosphate, when the last one is removed, what is left? It's only 2 phosphates. And this gives rise to ADP. That's adenosine diphosphate. So you have adenosine triphosphate. For energy requirement, phosphate is broken down. Which phosphate will be broken down? The first or the last? Which is at the end? Well, of course, the one which is at the end. So that will be broken down. So when that bond breaks, high amounts of energy is released, and this high amounts of energy will then help the cell to perform its normal functions. And then this ATP, because this phosphate is all gone, will now be converted into adenine with a ribose called as adenosine and 2 phosphates. So initially when it had 3, the name was triphosphate. Now when it has 2, it will be named as diphosphate. And that is why this ATP will get converted into something called as ADP. And what about the last one? Well, the last one is removed by breaking the bonds so that energy will be released, and this energy will be utilized by the cell to perform its functions. And that is why it is said that energy is stored in the bonds by which phosphate groups are attached to each other. As per the energy need, energy is derived by breaking the phosphate bonds of ATP. And that is the only reason ATP is called as the energy currency of the cell.